And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back AUSMA ZEHANAT KHAN here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book, Blackwater Falls, earning all the praise. AUSMA, welcome back. Tell us about this book.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me back. It's just such a pleasure to be here and to see your beautiful face again and to have a good mystery chat. So, yeah, I'm so excited because Blackwater Falls came out just last week. So it's only been a week, and it's been so exciting and wonderful to see the reaction of readers to it. But basically, to give you the pitch, it's a crime novel set in a small town in Colorado, south of Denver, where there's a corrupt sheriff's department and an outside unit comes in to help with the investigation of the murder of a teenage refugee from Syria. And it's a very interesting and different police unit called Community Response, and it's headed by a man of color by the name of Lieutenant Waqas Saif. And the lead detectives in the story are two partners. One is Inaya Rahman, who's of South Asian background, and she's a Muslim woman. And her partner is Latina. Her name is Catalina Hernandez. And they're coming into the investigation as police officers who have to represent the concerns of over-policed, underserved, targeted communities in a very volatile situation where the sheriff hasn't been responsive to those communities' fears and worries.
Well, that is a high stakes boiler room situation, if ever I heard it. And you open with a bang, thrusting us right into the action with Anaya on the crime scene, ready to investigate this creepily staged murder of a young woman, and I can't wait to get into every single detail of it, your research, everything. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. First, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are going live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube, so no matter where you're watching from, friends, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So if you've been here before, you know how it goes. You get to ask the featured authors anything. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. If you have any questions for AUSMA about her research, about her characters, about her lead detective, Anaya, we have so much to talk about. Just get it going in the questions. Julie, welcome to the conversation. Always a pleasure to have your name pop up. She says, hi, ladies. Hi, Julie. Welcome. So great to have you. Marcy, welcome to the conversation. Joining us from Hull, Massachusetts. Marcy, great to have you. Thank you for joining us. Now, while everyone's thinking of their questions, I'm going to kick off with some questions of my own. So, AUSMA, let's talk first about some of the amazing praise and buzz that this book is earning, because it is just like taking off. So first, Anne Cleves, the New York Times bestselling author of Vera, Shetland, and the Two Rivers series. She had some wonderful words of praise. I'm going to pop it up so we can all read them here today. She raved that this is a gripping and compulsive mystery, but it is so much more than that. It is an exploration of faith, prejudice, and fear of the unknown. So what a timely and unfortunately timeless subject matter there. So AUSMA, let's talk about that. So first off, how do you write something that is so gripping? I mean, I ripped through the first 12 chapters in just if I was devouring them. So how do you do that? This is not your first rodeo. What have you learned about writing gripping and compulsive? How do you suck Anne Cleves and Sara DiVello and the rest of us in? Give us the scoop.
Oh, wow. That's a great question and a tough one. I think about the kind of books I like to read where I want to be on the hook right from the first page. And I want to know that the stakes are high and I have all kinds of questions that I know are not going to be resolved and twists and turns that come along the way. So I think about that and I write a very thorough scene outline. And I always think I think I've learned a lot from writing other mysteries where I've taken too long to get to the murder. So I thought, put it right there in the first chapter, have it from the point of view of whomever the murderer may be, and go from there. And then don't slow down. Once you do that, just keep going, adding levels and layers of complexity and nuance and conflict and sometimes humor or romance, and just weave all these threads together so the book has texture. So that's what I aim for. And writing the running scene outline really helps me to get there.
Well, thank you for that question. And thank you all for all the hearts on Facebook, y'all. I see you. Thanks for all the Facebook love. So, Asma, yeah, so you thrust us right into the murder. Interesting to learn that you feel that in other books you took too long to get to it. I didn't know that you felt that way. Very
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
In Among the Ruins, I thought because I was so interested, it was a novel set in Iran, and I was so interested in setting the scene and making it very atmospheric. So it took a while to get into the meat of the book. And now I'm realizing, no, when I read a thriller, I like those fast paced ones. So I'm going to aim for that myself.
I love that. Anissa joined in the conversation saying, hello, Sarah and Asma. I loved the audio of this book. Ah, Anissa, so great to know. So, Asma, tell us about the audio. Did you get to choose the voice? Were you happy with the voice? Give us the scoop.
Yes, I did get to listen to auditions for the audiobook, and I was actually really thrilled with the narrator that we decided on because she's also of Pakistani American background. So she had no pronunciation questions whatsoever. It was we were good to go from the first day, and I think she really embodied the spirit and the voice of Inaya really well, and has that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, but also at the right moment will calm you down as well. So I love her narration, and I was thrilled to have her. Her name is Farida Pasha.
I love that you got to be involved. Asma, have you in other books found that you have had pronunciation issues with the reader?
Well, what usually happens is I'm always allowed to be involved, and I'm very grateful to my team for that because
Good.
I really appreciate how much they respect my point of view and
Mhm.
want to include me in these things. I never take that for granted, but it'll usually be because somebody is unfamiliar with the background, and I am myself too sometimes. So I'll have to ask like Arab friends, "How would you say this name?" Because I'm from South Asia, we would say it slightly differently. So I will, have to do a lot of recordings and pass the pronunciations I'd like to hear on, and then, of course, across languages, not all languages share the same sounds. So it can be difficult for people to reproduce those sounds. And I have that issue myself. So my last name is actually Khan, not Khan. And there's no he in the English language. So I don't expect people to suddenly magically know how to pronounce that. And I hope my readers will cut me the same slack when I have difficulties with things, knowing that I'm going to try my best. So I really find that whole process of narration and
Okay.
translation fascinating.
Me too. And I love languages. So thank you for letting me know the right way to pronounce your name because I am such a language nerd. So I will be pronouncing Asma Zahanat Khan properly
Ooh,
from now.
that was perfect.
Yay. I'm here for the gold star, Asma, here for
You
the gold
got it.
star.
You totally have it.
So this was named a Publishers Weekly Best Mystery of the Year. Congratulations on that. The New York Times book review editor's choice. Congratulations on that. I mean, Asma, you are just getting all the praise and deservedly so. Let's take a look at some of it. Publishers Weekly raving impressive. Khan is far too good to let the narrative devolve into a cliched showdown between immigrants and xenophobic locals. And Anaya is a fabulous character, shrewd and stalwart, yes, but also complicated and fully fleshed out, as is the marginalized Syrian community of Blackwater Falls. So wow, I mean, to have the New York Times book review rave that you have written a shrewd, stalwart, complicated, fully fleshed out character is amazing. How long did it take you, and what do you think the secret is to that?
It took me quite a long time, but I think Inaya was easier to write because she's the character that I've written that's the closest to my own identity. So I didn't have to do as much digging into her background because I had made her of South Asian background. So she has an Afghan father and a Pakistani mother, and both my parents are Pakistani. But we are Pathans or Pashtuns, which is an ethnic group that exists in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. So I made her share that background with me, and that group transcends the border, which is why it gave me an opening to write about both of those countries down the road. I was thinking long term, what else can I do with this character? What's her backstory? What does she carry forward? What do her parents bring? So I wanted to make that as close to my own reality as possible, and it felt really comfortable to write from that space. And then I was thinking about in the story. I hope this is not a spoiler, but the character
No
used to wear
spoilers, Asma.
no spoilers. She used to wear a headscarf, and now she doesn't. So I have a lot of friends who wear headscarves. My mother-in-law wears a headscarf, and I really wanted to put that, like, how I know these women to be so smart and accomplished and wisecracking and hilarious and just what people don't expect of them. So having that added texture into her character was so much fun for me, to give her this really nice big sister relationship where she's got two younger, smart aleck, gorgeous sisters that she's like big sistering all the time, but also really loves. So yeah, a lot of that comes from my own background, and it was a really great and comfortable space to exist in.
Oh, that's so great to know. Thank you for that. And I loved Anaya's relationship with her sister, especially the fashion blogger sister, who's so sassy. And I was very interested to read about Anaya's relationship with having worn a headscarf herself, but then having chosen to put that aside, and how she, wrestles with that, how she feels about that. And then her mom is on her tail to get married.
Yes.
And I thought it was especially interesting that her dad, because I think maybe a lot of people have the assumption that dads might be a little more, conservative, a little more, wanting their daughters to be a certain way. But actually, Anaya's dad is so really super supportive of her career and telling her mom to get off her tail. Why did you write the dad that way? Because it was the soup on the dad.
So you have a really great insight into it already, is that I wanted to flip exactly that script. I was thinking to myself, that is what people's traditional expectation of
Yeah.
these characters are. And, the community is not so black and white. There is so much difference and nuance and diversity in how people approach parenting. But again, this is really close to home for me because Anaya's father was very much inspired by my father, who passed away earlier this year, and is a very, very gentle, green-eyed soul who was also super supportive of everything I ever wanted to do, and knew that eventually I would probably get married and settle down, but I certainly didn't want to do it when I was 18 or 20 or 22. So I kept wanting to go to school for a really, really long time to put off this decision. And my mom would be like, there'll be a time limit where you won't be able to find anybody suitable. And my dad would be like, let the girl study. She likes to study. So I was thinking about that quite a bit. But I also I haven't gotten to it fully yet, but I like Inaya's relationship with her mom too, because all of her concern and nagging and worry just comes out of love, wanting her child to be settled and happy. And she's carrying her own tradition forward, where she's happy. She has a happy, loving marriage, and she wants her daughter to have that comfort in that partner too. So yeah, that was really fun to write. And the arranged marriage scene, the prospective arranged marriage scene, the most excruciating chapter in the book, was based on dozens of my own life experiences. I thought enough time has passed for me to make this comedic now. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this really hardcore thriller that I'm writing with deep, troubling, depressing themes, and I'm going to just put a little bit of lightness into the center of it.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I remember when your own dad in real life passed, and I'm so sorry, Asma, because I
Thank
remember
you.
you sharing that and bearing witness to your grief and the rawness of your grief, and thinking to myself, she must have been so close to her dad, and to have such a loving and special relationship to that she, had the blessing of, and watching, your heartbreak in the wake of his loss. And so I wondered if the dad if Anaya's dad was like your dad, or just an uncle, or some other dad you see. So I love knowing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And
Very.
I actually dedicated Blackwater Falls to my dad too.
Oh, yay. Yay. Anaya, let's get over to some of the other amazing praise, because I am just watching this book blow up on with every review out there. Let's hop over to the Washington Post now. I'm going to pop it up so we can all read it together. And they say, in a violent, divided town, Anaya is our moral center. With an unstinting gaze, Blackwater Falls is a tense and propulsive read from the start all the way through to its surprising, piercingly sad final chapter. So let's talk about your process. When you started Blackwater Falls, did you know it was going to, and no spoilers, but did you know it was going to end that way? Or are you a plotter or a pantser? Do you go where it flows? Did it change? Give us the scoop.
I am very seriously a plotter because
Okay.
I have a really bad memory, so I can't keep track of things if I don't. And in a murder mystery, the clues better add up so the readers are satisfied at the end. So I do outline very thoroughly, but it was surprising to me in this book that I didn't plan that final chapter the way it turned out. I really like to leave a lot of room for denouement and closure in my book, so you'll get the reveal maybe 15, 20 pages before the actual ending, so my characters have time to mull the ending a bit. And as I kept writing and the characters had come to life, particularly the Syrian family who lost their daughter, who's the murder victim at the beginning of the story, I realized that they needed a voice in the final chapter. So that came organically through the process of writing the story.
It's fascinating to know that you are a plotter, but you didn't know the end of this one. So let's talk about that. Did you have another ending planned, and then you were like, no, I need to give the murder victim's family more of a voice? Or did the character say, no, I need to go, like, how did it change for you?
So originally I was thinking, okay, it's going to be the big reveal, a big tense scene where we figure out who the culprit is, who done it, as the case may be. And, you know, the detectives are going to have their interaction and discuss how they put that together at the end. And then that's it. I'm done. I'm finished. And there might be a little bit of back and forth romantic tension between the lead detectives or not. That's where I was thinking, what's the natural stopping point of the investigation and of the story. But when I got there, I felt like this isn't it. It's not complete, and the
Ooh.
emotional arc is not complete yet. And the most important voice, which is always the voice of the family of a murder victim, has been neglected. It's not on the page. So let me figure out a way to do that.
Let's talk about the murder victim, Asma. So we open, we open with the voice of the killer, which is terrifying. So first, I want to talk about your research into the minds of killers. What was your research process like? How do you get into such a troubled, violent mind, and how was that okay for you?
That's a good
Or
question.
not?
I've never been asked that before. And to tell you the truth, I don't spend that much time in the minds of killers because I never think of them just as villains. I think of them as, oh, hello, baby, aren't you a
Someone
cutie
wanted to come
pie?
in.
Hey, it's brightening up the screen. But what I would normally think of, it's usually, and these are the kinds of books I like to read to, is when the person has been under the pressure of extreme circumstances and then does something that they wouldn't typically do. So
Hmm.
that's how I approach it. But because I have a background in international human rights law and I spend a lot of time reading about really egregious crimes and the people who commit them, I think I have that sense of detachment and coldness is in my mind as what a villain would feel, that they lack empathy, they might be a sociopath or a psychopath, or they just don't have the capacity to value human life the way that it should be. So that also really helps me with writing how someone can take that very unthinkable act to take another human being's life. So that helps. But if I spend too much time thinking about it, I freak myself out. So I try not to spend too much time or space in the killer's head.
I'm fascinated to learn that your education and experience in international relationships, or international relations, informed your creation and your ability to render the mind of a killer. Wow, that is really, really fascinating. Asma, I want to, because the other thing I want to talk about is the staging of the body. I think somehow that freaks me out more. I don't know why, because a death is a loss, no matter how the loss happens. Let's talk about that. Why? How did you decide that did you have to research how killers and why killers stage bodies? What was that like for you?
Actually, no, I didn't spend any time researching that because I knew thematically I wanted to set the novel up to look like. See, this is hard. It's hard to
Yes.
speak about because it's a bit
Okay. Yeah,
spoilery. I wanted to point in a certain direction by staging the crime the way I did,
yeah.
and
Okay.
then unravel what that meant, the staging of it, because it looks like one thing, but it isn't necessarily that thing, or it might be several things at the same time.
Okay.
So I was more concerned about how the reader's going to interpret it.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
So,
Okay.
so where I did my real research on the staging was on how it was staged, what it's meant to represent. I did a lot of historical research on that and kind of some. No, I can't go any further. It'll be too
Yeah.
spoilery.
No, no, no.
I'll
But
stop there.
you're hooking us good, Usma. You're hooking us good. Let's hop over to this one of your many starred reviews. This one from Booklist, raving enthralling and intense. The plot unfurls a perceptive exploration of faith, race, gender roles, immigration, intolerance, and community. This is a masterfully crafted thriller that does not disappoint from beginning to end. From Booklist, one of your many starred reviews. Usma, congratulations.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to write this book, start to finish?
Writing itself, I think, took about 6 months. But when the pandemic started in March of 2020, I was kind of at a loose end, and I was just observing what's going on in the country. And it was just after the killing of George Floyd and the
Yes.
protests, the Black Lives Matter protests that swept the nation. And I began to really analyze the political moment and the kind of conversation, because I sometimes really feel like an outsider to America, still a Canadian who's trying to understand these deeply divisive politics and how
Mm,
people can see the same event, such as the murder of a Black man by a police officer, in such completely contrasting ways. And so I
mm,
spent quite a bit of time thinking about that. So I began my research, and my research for the book, I would say, took at least a year, where I was 6 months to a year. I wanted to read everything I could about the protests. I wanted to read what Black scholars and intellectuals and activists were saying. They think about the need for criminal justice reform and dialing back police violence and police brutality and the arguments they were making. So I was listening to a lot of that. At the same time, I was reading a fair bit about, this fear we had, or this manufactured fear and outrage about the caravans at the southern border, and how that translated into a very dehumanizing way about speaking about Latinx communities and also the undocumented, and dialing back their rights, and people feeling free to confront other people in grocery stores, and just bringing their worst versions of themselves to the surface, and how they felt that they had the political latitude and freedom to do that. So I was taking all of this in, but it was also not too long after the iteration of the Muslim ban, and the severe anxiety that provoked in me, because my husband is of Iranian background. So, and that was one of the countries on the proposed ban list. And it really affected how we travel and the kinds of things that we have to think about. And then imagining that small microcosm of my personal anxiety, how much worse it must be for Latinx and Black communities because of the much greater issues they were confronting. And it just seemed to me like there was the pot that is America was boiling, and it was going to boil over. So I absorbed all that, and I thought, I want to know about this. I want to talk about this. I want to analyze it. And I'm going to put it in a crime novel so I can do all of those things. And that's how I came to then start writing Blackwater Falls, when I had taken it enough and I thought I could, with some authority and some compassion and understanding, try to write about these issues.
mm. I love knowing that, Asma, because as someone who holds a PhD in international human rights law, as someone with, with your own heritage, your husband's heritage, as a Canadian in America, with all of these many facets of your education, your experience, your insight, your unique ability to understand. I think your use of the word boiling is exactly how it felt to me. And it still feels like we're at a high simmer, like to
You're
be.
right. You're absolutely right. Like, I was so scared coming into the midterm election cycle that I thought, what's going to happen to this country now? Is this democracy doomed, or is there hope for us?
Something we're all wondering. Ardo, welcome to the conversation. Question is, what was the experience / shift like taking on a new detective after spending so much time writing Detective Khattak? Is it Khattak or Khattak?
Khattak.
Khattak in your fabulous mystery series. Great question, Ardo.
Salam, Ardo. Great to see you here. And also, thank you for the great question. I don't think I was fully ready to say goodbye to Isa Khattak and Rachel Getty in the previous series. I was still thinking about them, and the cases they might take on. And I had left that series on a cliffhanger, which I'm sure my readers still hate me for. I hope one day I get the chance to resolve it. But
Yeah.
I have been living now in the United States since 2008 and taking it in, and I became a citizen in 2015. And I thought, it's time for an American setting. It's time to comment on what I see here. And also the chance to put a female detective as a lead character, a Muslim woman like myself. It was very exciting. And I had a lot of good support and feedback and suggestions from my editor at Minotaur Books, Catherine Richards, and also my agent, Danielle Burby, where we were talking about what would make for a good crime novel. Because I always approach them and say, I'm interested in these issues. This is the issues that I'd like to write about. And they'll come back to me and say things like, okay, but what about the characters? What's the vehicle for talking about this? Don't forget, you're still telling a story. So, and my editor, Catherine, had said, it'd be really good to see a character closer to you, which was, then I started thinking about, okay, what would that look like? And knowing my life story has been full of ups and downs and a lot of unintended hilarity, I thought this character could be a really good way of working out a lot of the things that have happened to me. and maybe really changing the way that people think about what the interior lives of Muslim women are like.
I love that, because I think, to your point and to a lot of these reviews, when a woman or a group of women or a group of anybody is viewed as other, or when you may not know anyone or spend time in those circles, it's an easier environment to feel, where lack of knowledge fuels fear of other. Whereas if you come with an open heart, or you're spending time regularly in those circles, you're like, it's not other. It's like, oh, that's just, my friend.
Exactly.
Um, so giving us Anaya and her family and her fashion blogger sister and her dad encouraging her career and her mom writing her tale about getting married feels familiar to us. So making the other feel known is something I think very powerful here, while also tantalizing us with a murder mystery. Marcy, welcome to the conversation. She says, Usma, your backstory is going to make reading your novel that much more interesting.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it.
The book is out now, y'all. Order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. Here is the link. No matter if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, here's the link. Click, 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 order. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will send it right out to you. Then hop over to Mystery and Thriller Mavens, free and open to all, where all the good tea is spilled. And we will continue the conversation. So if you want to talk about Anaya, if you want to talk about the murder, you want to talk about anything that's weighing on your mind, just chat, hop on over, join, and that's where we continue the conversation. We have 3 minutes left, so I think I can take 2 more questions. Meanwhile, I did really want to get to some more of these fabulous reviews. So let me scroll back, because I think I missed some of them. Right here is, oh my goodness, there's so many. Mystery and Suspense magazine raves a complex and timely novel. Anaya is a well-portrayed character. The themes of violence and social justice resonate in Blackwater Falls and make for a compelling read. Indeed, they do. First Clue, that's only half of it. First Clue raves that Khan's fast-moving but thoughtful series debut goes far beyond newcomers versus racist tropes to look at real life in a changing town. Raman is a tough, lovable, and often funny protagonist who will appeal to fans of Joanna Schaffhausen's Annalisa Vega. So how many more books can we expect to see with Detective Anaya on the case?
I'll be happy to keep writing them as long as readers enjoy reading them, but I have just finished the sequel and my edits. I'm praying that no more edits come back, but they might well. So the second book was really fun to write, and I'm looking forward to deepening Anaya's partnership with Catalina and with the Black civil rights attorney, who's the third member of their trio, Arisha Adams, and opening up these women's lives and their perspectives on the kinds of crimes they face in a small town where a sheriff is determined not to serve his constituents, but rather to over-police them.
Ms. Magazine raving Anaya Rahman. Am I saying Rahman right? I just want to make sure.
It's Rahman.
Rahman, thank you, is leading the fiercest new detective series on the block. Love that review and love Ms. Magazine. And then I also just wanted to get to BuzzFeed deeming this an extremely timely and original thriller, one of 20 mysteries and thrillers that you need to read this month. Thank you for that fabulous review as well. Y'all, the book is out. Let me post the link again, because you're not going to want to miss this one. Here it is again, no matter where you're watching from. Here's the link. I'm going to pop it up again so everyone can read it. Everyone can order it and then read it over the holidays or whenever. I want to share a few more. Hank Philippi, Ryan raves, clear your calendars. I love that. I'm going to pop it up. She talks about your provoking storytelling. I'm going to pop it up really quickly because it's going to cover us. Your propulsive, thought-provoking storytelling and timely themes resonate in every riveting book with tight plotting, which we now know you are a plotter, intense characters, cinematic settings, and a focus on social justice. Blackwater Falls is the first and what is sure to be an acclaimed and long-running series. Do not miss this book. This one coming from Queen Hank Philippi Ryan.
She's always so kind to me and so supportive of other writers. She's just an amazing person. Her and Hannah Mary McKinnon both. They're both fabulous.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up Hannah Mary McKinnon because I want to pop up her review as well. She says, with multifaceted characters that you will cheer for and a taut, propulsive storyline, Blackwater Falls is as surprising as it is evocative. Congratulations on that. And Hank and Hannah are such a fabulous team and clearly huge fans of yours, AUSMA.
They're both really, really good to me, and they're amazingly supportive to the whole crime writing community.
They really are. They are such gems. Well, y'all, we are now out of time. So once again, be sure to order Blackwater Falls, and the good folks at Murder by the Book will get that out to you so that you too can immerse yourselves in Anaya's world and in her detective work. We have a budding romance here, which I can't wait.
I cannot write without romance. I love it too much.
What do you love about it?
I just love seeing two people surmount various obstacles to come together and support each other. I've always loved, those not necessarily fairy tale endings, but the happily ever after. Absolutely.
Oh, AUSMA, I didn't know that about you. You're a softie.
I am. I'm a big romantic.
I didn't know this about you, AUSMA ZEHANAT KHAN, Ph.D, Dr. Khan. Very interesting to know that you love the happily ever after. And I have to also look at Jennifer Hillier's review, who raves that Blackwater Falls is a novel you will read in one sitting, a compelling, tense thriller from one of the most exciting, authentic voices in suspense fiction. This masterful series debut will leave you impatiently waiting for the next installment. Do we know yet when the next installment will be out, AUSMA?
I think next November.
So we'll see you then, right?
We'll see you then. I hope so. I'd love to be back. And Jennifer is a superstar and such a kind person too.
She's wonderful and so talented. Well, AUSMA, we will see you back next November then for Blackwater Falls #2, for Anaya #2. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us the inside scoop. Thank you to all of you who spent your Mystery Monday afternoon with us. I wish you a safe and healthy holiday this week. And I will see you next Monday for more mystery and mayhem. Have a great day.
Thank you.